This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
Oh, crying out loud.
What?
You must have been bored today.
I'll be busy.
Yeah, looks it.
He has. He's spent a lot of time in Photoshop today.
What? I don't know whether I saw it, Tapes, just in case.
What, this?
Yeah, look, that's Hayden. Even everyone, that's Hayden next 2 weeks. That's
You can explain it to the
branch.
listeners.
And in the back there, if you look over, there's that house on the right. This is genuinely his house. Over in there, that's where they keep all the dollar bills. I'm not going to tell what they sell, but in that bit over the back there on the right hand side is where all the money's kept. All right, so that's his little. What do they call them? The place Hacienda? Is it Hacienda? I can't remember. But that's basically Hayden's place. Sorry to tell her. Oh, she's on mute. What a great start. I still can't hear you, dear. Tobe, she's on mute.
I can't
I'm
unmute
back.
them.
Yes, she's back. What a great start to the show.
For anyone that didn't see that and is listening on the podcast, it's been a great entrance. Basically, Hayden is going to be reporting the F1 live from the exact building shown in the image. So definitely check that out when you're watching it back. But anyway, guys, good evening. We're back. And what a gorgeous Friday it is. Welcome to the Long Run Show and podcast, brought to you by the FORDY RUNS running community. And of course, our sponsors at Skechers. So to check out all their latest trainers, kit, everything to hype you up for that summer vibe as we've been getting this gorgeous weather, just head to skechers.co.uk. But tonight we are back, joined by the lovely Toby, the good old Chris Ford, and Hayden, who are repping the lovely Skechers gear. How are we, guys? Hayden?
Oh, well, hang on. Before we go to the old boy, I've got a special guest. Hayden, are you looking nervous, isn't he?
Oh, every time you
Hayden's
string
looking
something.
nervous. No, I'm being serious. I've got a special guest who's actually staying at Hayden's place at the moment. Should we bring her in, Tobe? Where
I
is
think you
she?
should. You made the effort.
Yeah. Bring her in. She's in
Oh,
Hayden's
why
place.
pressing the buttons?
There we go.
Yeah.
There she is. All the way from Vegas.
Are you all right? Can you hear me?
Hi! Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay, good. I thought I'd just come and say hello because I thought you'd be missing me by now.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
You haven't been able to do anything for the last week. Let's think about this.
For those that don't know, our lovely Sabrina is currently in Vegas. Sabrina, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's really hot here. I'm sat in the shade so I can actually see you and hear you. But it's amazing, isn't it? This place is mad.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never been, so I need you to
been to
just hype it
Vegas?
up for me. No, never been.
It's like, just think about everything's just, like, everything's just been blown up about 1,000,000%. Everything's just huge. I can't get my head around it. Like, the hotels are huge, the rooms are huge, everything, like the food portions are huge. I know why Chris loves it now. It all makes sense.
It is true. It is the greatest place, apart from like Arizona, New Mexico, in terms of like staying there in a ranch away from everyone. If you would just want to go out and go balmy for a couple of days or go nuts, then it's just the best place to go and have some. But you did some running. The reason she's on
Yeah.
is because she's actually done some running. That's why we thought we'd bring her in,
Yeah.
transatlantic style, because she's actually started her Chicago Marathon training today by doing what?
I ran down the Vegas Strip to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign because my friends have all been before and they've seen it. So I thought, well, I haven't. So what do I do? So I got up at 6:30 in the morning and left by 7 because it's so hot over here because you're in the desert.
Hang on, I'm not having that. There's no way you went to bed. You carried on and then just ran there from
No,
where
no,
you were
no.
the night before.
I've been to bed. I've been well behaved. And there were still people in the casino, though, this morning from they were sat there last night, which is just like mind blowing. I'm like, they must have just lost so much money in trying to win it back. But yeah, so I went and actually did a run, 6 miles this morning. I'm in Chicago. We're on the way.
Chicago Marathon starters train. So are you joining us for this whole show?
No, I'm going now. I'm going to go back in the pool. I'm going to order some food. And then I'm going to think about what number I put on the roulette table later.
19, 19.
Double zero.
Put it all on 19. The whole house, put it on 19. If it doesn't work, Tobe will recoup any of the losses.
I'll go 17.
Let's all give a number.
Right,
Let's
I'm going.
Alright.
I'm going 19. All right. Tell you what, Sabrina, put 20. I'll give you the $20 when you get back.
Yeah.
Put $20 on 19 for me, and
Okay, right,
whatever
fine.
pays out, I keep. You can have the $20. Otherwise, I'll give you the 20. Right, Chatilla, you pick a number.
13.
What are you putting on it
13.
though? Because you got
$20.
$20. Hey, you can't do your usual.
I'm going to go number 2 all day long. We'll go the same. We'll go $20. Number 2.
Okay.
Alright.
I'm going 17. Are we allowed to do this on the podcast so we can get into trouble for some kind of
No,
gambling?
don't worry about it. Go- No one's listening. Anyway.
All right. So I've got 19, 17, 13, and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out next week. Oh no, it's a pre-record next week. You just have to follow us on social media.
All right. I don't know if I'm allowed to film it, but I will.
No,
I'll
you
try
are.
to
You
anyway.
can take a picture or whatever.
All right, cool. I'll let you know. All right.
All
Anyway,
right, see
I'm
you
off.
later.
I'll see you all later. Bye, guys.
Right, sorry, we better
Bye.
get back to talking about some running.
Well, that was lovely. Yeah, I did see a photo that she posted. It was attached to my Strava. I'm actually so jealous. It looks gorgeous. But yeah,
Okay.
let's get back to business. So,
Let's get back to business. If you're thinking what the hell's going on here, this show's live. If you just noticed that, unlike your usual podcast, this thing is recorded live. And if you're Toby, we're on Facebook as well tonight. So we've got Facebook, we've got YouTube. And if you've got a question, comment, whatever, stick it in. So like Penny's, Robert, Mike's here. We've got some people watching live. Actually, I can see there's like 2 million people watching tonight. So just get that in there if you want to get involved in the show. It's like the Monday Bite Size we do, which is driven by you. But tonight, actually, what are we talking about, Chatilla?
So tonight we're talking about not necessarily the best half marathon workout, but maybe some things that we do that we've done in our half marathon training and things that we might advise or things that we forget to include. So we'll be going deep diving into that shortly.
Good shout. Good shout. So, firstly, how have you been? Because we have not seen you for a few weeks. What have you been up to?
I know it's been a while since I've been on. The whole month of June, sort of coming to the end of financial year at work. We've got a lot of awards going on, end of year sort of things that have been having to be ticked off. But yeah, I've been doing well. I think the last time I was on was just before Hackney, so I've just been ticking over on my runs and just kind of focusing more on things that I've been neglecting. So a lot of like strength. I've actually started stretching a fair bit. So just doing things I wouldn't normally do, which is just, I'm not really in a plan at the moment. So I'm actually just enjoying myself, really. But yeah, no, looking good. Going to head to Park Run.
Sorry, interrupt you, Chatilla. I'm going to pull up your... Elaborate more on that stretching, because that's quite interesting for people. So exactly what have you been doing?
So normally, like before for London Marathon, I used to do every single week, I'd go to 2 classes at the gym and I'd do like stretch classes and things like that. And I loved it. I tried to do absolutely everything to get myself into London fit and healthy. And I've been neglecting it since Boston, since Hackney. I've done hardly anything like that. I just get really lazy. I do my runs. I don't stretch. I don't do any of this. So now that I'm not really in a plan or working towards anything, trying to strip back and focus on the things that I kind of miss. I've been doing a lot of runs without watches to try and just bring myself back to some sort of just some nice, easy training throughout the summer. It's been really working in my favour. So yeah, it's been chilled but nice.
But you got nothing booked in terms of a goal you're working towards.
No, not really. I am going to pop myself in for like a Chase the Sun, a run for event, probably towards the end of the month. Because I ran at Park Run last week and I ran really well. I ran a cheeky PB, which I had no clue.
Really?
Doing.
What was that?
Sub 20,
Oh,
1943. I know.
Oh, cool. Well
and
done,
it was simply just from, I think, just not focusing on anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do maybe a 10K towards the end of July, but then I'm away for work for about 2 or 3 weeks at the end of July. So try and end it on a high. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing. Met some really cool people, just running around Bushy Park and just enjoying. It's been great.
That's amazing. And what about you? So you know, the old boy, we put the picture up. He's off to
The boss. Let's go.
Yeah, he's off to his villa's probably a bit. I don't mean to be horrible because it's too small when you think of a villa. What is it? Is it a hotel? What is it you're going to? Your place in Mexico?
I don't know. If I go by your pictures, that's definitely not where I'm going. But you seem to know more about it than me. But I'm actually going to a nice hotel, and I'm looking forward to it.
Is you going to do any running?
It's the same thing. A few weeks. My plan's been over last month. Let me go out there. I have 2 weeks off. So Chicago, same as Sabrina, same as Admin, should have started today. well, Monday. But I was going to have a couple of weeks off of doing nothing and just go for a 14-week plan because I've had a few injuries and stuff. They've actually started to feel a bit better as of late. And now I'm starting to pack and I'm thinking, do I pack more than one kit? Do I go for two? Do I pack 2 pairs of trainers? And then they've got the missus saying, you said you weren't going to run at all. Then it's one run. I might get a couple in. I might go to the gym. It just becomes habit for you, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm going to plan on doing a few runs out there. It just depends on the heat and stuff. And where we're actually staying, it isn't too great to go out. So the site's big. So I think we can get a good 5 or 10K in on the site, but nothing too mad. But yeah, definitely trying to maintain a bit of fitness and just I want to come back ready to start. If it is a 14-week plan for Chicago, ready to start it, feeling good and fresh and mentally relaxed. That is the ultimate plan.
Do you think that makes any difference, a 14 to a 16-week plan?
I think with the way I train in my marathon journey, the fact that I haven't just stopped running after my last marathon, I've still got that base. I'm still keeping it up. So last week we went out and done Harp, and even though it was over the endurance event over 24 hours, and I plan on doing about 3 laps. I thought maybe 4 laps, that 8K laps. Well, if I get 32K in over the weekend, that'd be quite a lot. That'd be the most since I've done since Boston. I ended up doing 7 laps. So I ended up coming out like 56K. And I didn't actually think I was capable of that at the moment, the fitness stage that I'm at. But I actually did. And I felt absolutely fine. And this whole week I kept thinking, I'm just going to come next day. I've got the DOMs, it's going to set in. I've been absolutely fine. So I think there's something wrong with me. When I don't run, I get injured and I get grumpy and everything. I think I just need to run basically every day and constantly be on a training plan like I had for the last 3 years. And I think I'll be all right.
Sure, you're right. Talk a little bit more about Harp because
honestly, Harp was.
I think all of us should go next year. Jatila, we'll get you. I mean, Hayden did 7 laps, right? I think you should do 17. Yeah, 100%.
I think I am, man. That sounds brutal.
Well, you're a machine, sub 20. Right, so tell the listeners or viewers, Hayden, what Harp 24 was and is kind of thing.
So most people have been probably more familiar with Endurance 24, which was Endure 24, which is the week before. This is basically like a smaller version. So it's basically a campsite in Southend, Harp 24 was. It's actually a rugby ground. We went down there Saturday morning. There was loads of us from the 40 Runs running community, and we sort of like commandeered an area, and we set up the tents all around it. I think when I counted, we had about 25 tents. There's about 35 of us. So we set up these tents in a big round circle. We had like a communal tent in the middle, and then one at the top bit where we built like a kitchen and everything else. So we all got there about 9:30, 10 in the morning, and at 12 o'clock, the gun goes off, and basically there's these loops, they're 8K loops, 5 miles. And you go out and do one. If you want, the hardcore people that are running solo, they just keep going and going and going until they basically drop down. And you get people there that are going to run 20 laps, 21 laps, which is just absolutely incredible. But you can also do it in teams of 2, 3, 4, 5. We had a ladies team of 6, absolutely smashed it and got the trophy. It was absolutely fantastic. Right. They run the same amount. They run 24 laps, which was the same as the men's 6 that went out. They run 26, and they're like from a running club that's like takes it really seriously. So our lady's done brilliant. And on top of that, we had a young lady that set the fastest lap record as well. Someone that hasn't been running that long. She came along, went out, smashed out a 43-minute lap. And that was the fastest lap of the whole weekend. So, all round, absolutely brilliant. We had a bit of thunder, bit of rain. Mm-hmm. So they pulled it for a couple of hours. It's a bit dangerous out there because it is quite traily up in the woods because you run at night. Mm-hmm. But overall, honestly, what an absolute fantastic experience and a great community feel. Just everything about it was absolutely spot on. Honestly, every person that went there just hasn't stopped talking about it since. Absolutely fantastic event.
We talked her into it. Come on, Jatila.
It does sound amazing. Can we do a team though? Can we actually do a team?
Yeah, you can do teams of 12, but you only do 1 lap if you want. It's up to you.
Let's do it. I'll actually do it as a team. Why not? See how many troops we can roll up.
Honestly, I think next year, seriously, I think we could get like 50, 100 people to do that. After everybody, seeing the hard work that, Caroline, Alan and the whole team put together, getting that, off the ground this year. I know they did the year before, but really smashing it this year. I think next year it could just be double the size. Honestly, it's an epic weekend. It really did. I have major FOMO. But I think honestly, I think Tobe, what about you?
Do I have to run?
He's so annoying, right?
You could maybe organise the post-run brekkie, maybe then.
Oh, no, that'll upset Mel.
no. Who was on? Was it Mel and who was Danny?
Mel and Danny were the 2 camp chefs. Yeah, done a great job.
Fantastic.
Did that
For
porridge?
We had loads of porridge. Actually, I should give a shout out as well. Fellow long run show host Gemma Pedler.
Yeah.
She was one of the solo ones. She went out and smashed, I think, 10 laps, about 80k. Machine. Honestly.
She's an absolute machine, Gemma.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Absolute
Brilliant.
machine.
Brilliant.
So, Tobe, do you feel now sort of, I think the word, probably the right word, embarrassed about your lack of running?
Not really, no.
Come on, Toby, you've got ages to train for this now. We've given you a year's notice.
What are we training for? Heart?
Heart, yeah.
Yeah, but you get a nice break in between, don't you?
Yeah, but don't forget, Tobe, you've got that marathon you're not allowed to tell anyone about at the end of the year as well.
Not again. Not again. Not this saga again. It can't be.
There isn't one. Well, not that I know of, anyway.
Look at Aidan Lewis, eh?
Look at his brain ticking
Can't
now.
talk
Look.
about it. No one's listening. Only like 1 million viewers live. He's got this. Hopefully I'm not speaking out to him. It could be in October. Marathon. But let's not discuss it any further. What?
I can't say anything.
Yeah, he's not allowed to say it. But all I'd say is he's wearing blue. Leave it there. Just hit up.
2 out of 4 repping the blue today, both Boston. Let's have it.
Yeah, let's say. Oh, well, I could have put my Boston top, but I'd stay on brand. Friends of the show, sketches, sponsors. Thanks very much. I thought I'd stay
Yeah,
on brand.
I think everyone's had enough of the unofficial Boston teas for today.
What do you mean unofficial? They're official. They came from Boston. One of them came from Boston. And I've got to give a shout out actually to the guys because I was at an event on table. When was that?
Which event?
Wednesday. Thanks for helping. We did a local event, St Albans, right? 13 quid this event is. And you get a barbecue. You'll give a donation, but there's a barbecue there. It's such a good local event. And I would say this to everybody, right, over the summer. And I think that's because we're doing Wear 10s next weekend, which is another local event. Honestly, try and hunt out some of these really cool local smaller events. It really is a good shout because they're not over the top in terms of money. You could probably set yourself a little cheeky goal of, not, again, it's not about running times, but in terms of where you are of your fitness, it'll give you a gauge of where you are. And joking aside, we ran, well, firstly, we wanted to break Ben because it's just funny. But secondly, we wanted to see where we were at in terms of fitness at the start of our training plans, because I publicised it. I'm starting my New York City Marathon training, like early, deliberately. And we wanted to see where we were in terms of fitness because we basically took May off. Well, Tobe's taken like the whole year off after he walked 16 miles in Japan or wherever it was.
Fun time.
Well, he did say, hey, I don't know what you're shaking your head. You told me when we got back from the plane, it was embarrassing to watch him just walk the whole 16 miles. Is your exact words.
He knows you're lying. Look, he knows.
I think there's video evidence that he's lying. To be honest,
that's true. Anyway, my point is we wanted to see where we were at. We broke Ben, which was good news, and then we got a gauge of where we are in terms of now moving on. So we kind of get an idea of where we can go with our sort of pace effort level. So just to give you an insight into that, so we're looking at this training plan, already thinking about where our efforts are going to be punching out to achieve what we want to achieve. So New York City Marathon, it's bleeding hard. It's a lot up and down over. Have you done it, Jatila?
No, I haven't.
It's up and down loads of bridges, right? And it's like quite a long drag over them and stuff like that. So we've got to be prepared to that. Got to make sure we train reasonably well this year. So I was using sort of the last few weeks to sort of see where I am in fitness wise, so I can then basically where my easy mileage is. Because the first 4 weeks, I'm pretty much working on building my aerobic base. Most of that is done in that sort of easy state, let's call it. So perceived effort of running easy. But we also try and put a pace around that. So I've got an idea of where I am. Now that's come down. My easy pace, believe it or not, has come down. It's not going to help some. But sort of 10.5 minute miles, 10, 15 minute miles, I'm now going to be running down at sort of 9 minute miles in terms of easy pace. That's how much I've done that over a period of time in terms of, where I am, whether you're looking at it zones and things like that. But I'm basically where my fitness has improved over the years. My easy pace is coming down. So we're just trying to establish that at the moment. And by doing that on Wednesday, it gave me a feel of where I am in terms of aerobically, if that makes any sense. So,
Yeah.
you know, I broke Ben at 45 minutes and I felt like I could have carried on quite comfortably. So that gives me a good gauge of where I need to be for my training block. And I think it's a good key. I'm not saying everybody do it, but just have a think about if you're starting I mean, we're going to come on to it, but like a half plan or a marathon plan or whatever you're getting yourself into, think about where your effort levels are and how you match that up, whether you're matching it up to zones. All right, whether you're, I don't know, monitoring it on your watch is not ideal. You really want to be doing it on a strap, you know, but try and do some work so you can get your zones, you know, reset almost. Try and do something like a higher effort like we did on Wednesday. So if I was wearing a strap, that would have probably punched out some new zone data for me in terms of where my lactate threshold is and that sort of stuff. If you're doing what Tobe does, which nobody cares about, and you're wearing one of those stupid things on your feet, what are they called, Tobe?
Stride pod.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
You're going to get that, what is it, Tobe? Energy or output or
wattage, power.
Wattage, yeah. So again, you're going to get different data, which you can then, however you're figuring out your training plan, you can then use that to sort of then build your way through it. So I hope that helps in terms of, does that make sense, Hayden? I mean,
absolutely, absolute sense. And as you said, it obviously we're going to come on to it, but absolutely, you just basically summed up a lot of what my thoughts are towards trying to sort yourself out for a half marathon training plan or get yourself prepped for a half marathon. It's absolutely everything you just summed up, really. So we'll go into it in a bit more depth in a bit, but yeah, you're absolutely spot on there.
Yeah, I can agree more. You've pretty much ticked off a few of the key things that I would sort of mention, but we will go deep into that. But before we leave, I know we've gone through all three of us. Toby, how are you?
I'm all right.
Completely skipped everyone apart from you. What are you doing? Where are
that's
you?
fine. Just there's not really much to say, really.
We're not allowed to talk about October.
No, we've got a little while to October as well.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about October.
No, can't talk about October.
It's not that way, though. It will creep around.
Sorry?
It will creep around.
Yeah, everything seems to. Well, this is what I'm finding at the moment. We kind of creep through, and now June, July, just seems to be something going on pretty much every weekend. Like there seems to be a race, or I mean, I don't really know. I don't really keep track. I just go, "What we're doing?" And they go, "Oh, we got that race on this week." I was like, oh, "Okay."
Are you doing A16 kg, Taylor?
No, I'm not, but I am. I'm going down there to support a friend who's actually raising money on behalf of me and my family, surprisingly. So I'm going to be going down there. He has raised a lot of money through Mind, nearly like 3K now for a family member that I'd lost. So he's raised a hell of a lot of money. Used to do a lot of running back with me back in sort of our junior years of athletics. So I've sort of helped him through with like a little bit of a plan, you know, just to get him back on the grind. So I'll be there screaming my lungs off at everyone.
We should get him on the show.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. He's done a great job. He's done really, really well. So
what's the Just Giving thing? Do you know it?
It's just under his name, so it's Ben McGuinness.
Okay,
so it's
get on there, people.
Ben McGuinness.
Even if it's a pound, get on there and support that, please.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to go down there. It's so soon as well. It looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day for it. So are any of you running?
Yeah, Hayden's doing dodgy deals in Mexico. But me and Toby there, we're on filming duty. We're influencing, so we're going to upset everybody as usual. What was it? We got accused of something the other day. Brilliant, loud and all this sort of stuff. Sorry about that, but it's just the way we are.
That's what you want.
Get over it. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? We can't help it.
Oh, no, we'll be down there.
Yeah, so I'll be there. Speak Up will be there. But I think there's quite a lot. Did I put a post up in the group, Hayden? I can't remember about if there's people going. I can't remember. There's so much going on in the community at the moment on Facebook, which is great.
It's non-stop. Whatever you're doing, get it in the comments so we can make sure we feedback on it sort of over the next coming weeks. There's so much going on. It's
100%.
It's manic. Like I know we're obviously talking about sort of prep for sort of all of the upcoming halves and things in sort of September time, but there's so much before there.
I know there's a lot, but I think you can, like I just said, you can use some of these events if you're doing stuff, whether it's local or big, because it's a good bridge actually. Well done, Tiller. But like you think Great North Run is going to be starting soon. People's going, because I've been writing a lot of plans for people. So Great North Run's going to be kicking in soon in terms of 12 weeks out from that. And so doing these sort of races and prep now, like I just spoke about, is a good shout. But I think it's a very good bridge onto stuff like that. So has anybody got, October? We know you're not allowed to talk about what's going on in October, But has anybody else got like a half? Is anyone firstly doing Great North Run or another half? So I think you need to get on this bus, right? I think you need to get half in.
I am. I think I'm gonna do the big half. So I did it last year.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to do that. It's a similar time to Great North Run. I think it's a little bit earlier. I think it's sort of like the first week of September. So I think I'm going to get that one under my belt.
It's not the same weekend as Berlin, is it?
Nice. I think you'll find it's either the last couple of days of August, first couple of days of September. That first weekend, either end of August.
Last year it was like the 5th of September or something like that. And then I think Great North Run's the following week or something.
Okay, so it's at the start. All right, well that's a good shout. Let's get you on to Greenwich.
Yeah.
Stick those alpha flies on and you can turn it up again.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, these alpha flies changed my life. I love it. I refuse to wear them. Obviously, I refused to wear them. About 3 months ago, I refused to run in carbon plate shoes, and then I get a little treat and they changed my life. They're actually under here where I've took them off.
She's having up. Yeah, but I think you're going to need to get another colour now.
I know. 100. Oh, there we go. Big half from Bam Bam, 3rd of September. Cheers.
There we go. So we could rock that out. I think if we put you down for like a, I don't know, 60-minute or something like that, put you down.
Lost your mind.
60 minutes.
Lost your mind. Right, before we actually move on to that, there is just a couple shout outs down here that I want to just tick off from Cam Man. So big shout out to the 40 runners, Ian Wilson, good old Wilts, Chris Nash, and myself, Cam Man, for the running the Wall 70-mile ultra.
Hero.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Unreal. How was that's mad.
They are. Ian Wilson, he's sort of notorious for it. He loves it. This is what he does all the time. A marathon's like a 5K for him. This is the sort of stuff he does. But that wall one in particular, I say, well, Cam Man and Chris Nash have done it as well. That looks absolute brutal. It really is. 70 miles. That is not messing about.
That's carnage.
That's hardcore.
Absolute carnage. Also down there, obviously, I know you were talking about Harp there, Hayden. So Robert Hallam also said, like you mentioned, don't forget the winning team and the fastest lady. So some unreal sort of session sort of ticking off there. Harp 24 is fab. Hello from Turkey as well. So welcome. To everyone.
I had someone the other day from Japan. Never understand how they can understand
me. We're doing quite well on being number one across the world.
I know, global.
So, we're Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah,
right.
massive across the globe. Is anybody listening? We've got let me know if anyone's listening from Germany. I'd be interested to know that. What's the thing? How'd you get in touch?
If you so 40runs.com/long run.
Yeah, send it in if you're from Germany. What's this Paul pitch out? Big congrats on the PB. Must be talking to you. Same here on Saturday and stacked it 10 meters from the line. Oh, Jesus.
Skin off
When was your last spill? Oh, so have you? Oh, this is tempting fate. Touch wood, we don't.
No, I just thought that.
Yeah. Do we or don't we go into this? I think we'll just say we're very blessed and we move on. We don't want to tempt fate on that one pitch. If that's
it's almost one of those. Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, we move on. We move on to talking about half marathons, I think, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think the sort of the idea came. And I said to you because I've been doing some plans this week and last week for people, about the Great North Run and some of the other big half things like that, and it was like. It made me think about, people out there who may not, well, either they're looking to improve their half marathon time or what are the sort of key workouts that if you sign up for a half marathon and maybe you've not got a plan because you're just going to wing it, legends. What's the sort of, best sessions, best ideas around the half marathon training that we can sort of tips or anything like that, but sort of just impart on you like what we've done. So in terms of, so look, coming from your background, Sheila, what's the sort of, when stepping up to the 13-mile distance, where did you focus your efforts?
So when I started going into the long distance, it was super, super tough. I basically treated myself as a complete novice because running 60-meter reps is nothing compared to tackling a long run. For me back then, when I first started, was around sort of 4 miles. I just couldn't get my head around the fact that I was having to do 26 of them. So my focus was more time on feet. So I didn't care about the distance, like the distance I was tackling. I would just go out for a period of time and I would focus on the time on feet. I did not care when I pressed that watch how far I ran. It's just to prove to myself that I can tick off that time, because maybe farewell, you're looking for maybe sort of like a sub 3 or even a sub 2:30 or something like that. You want to just know that you can tick off a 40-minute run without having to focus on the time or anything like that. And you've kind of already taken out a big chunk of what your end goal is going to be. You think, okay, if I can do the 40 minutes, I reckon if I can do that again. So that's when I started to just put my trust in the time that I was running on the feet. Just go out super slow, listen to podcasts, listening to the long run podcast, of course. Of course. And just sort of just getting those ticked off and just feeling comfortable. I didn't want to stop feeling out of breath, thinking, oh my God, that was awful. And then when I started to try and pick up a little bit of speed, which speed meant completely different thing for me when I was coming out of sprinting, going into sort of long distance training. So I did sort of tempo runs where I didn't have a like a Garmin or anything back then. I was still on the hunt on like looking for cheap ones here, there and everywhere. And all I did was just go out with my phone on my arm and I'd run maybe like a mile pretty steady. And then I would maybe try and pick it up a little bit faster. Now, I didn't know timings. I didn't know anything. I just tried to pick it up a little bit quicker for another mile and then go back to a slow sort of jog. So just trying to get the balance between going at different paces, which really, really helped. And then by the end, it wasn't exactly, say, 3 miles. It was a little bit over or a little bit less. But I know myself that I've managed to work those distances. So until you're feeling really comfortable to tackle going out with a watch or going out with pacing, going out in heart rate zones, I don't think I've ever trained in heart rate zones. I just really struggled from the very beginning and it just wasn't for me. So yeah, just going out and just feeling comfortable when you're going from that lower intensity to that higher intensity. They worked really well for me when I started training for my first half before London.
So, have you ever done any training for a half?
Well, I've trained myself to eat properly, like fuel for a half. Does that count? I've worked on the nutrition side.
Oh, your focus has been purely on nutrition.
Yeah.
and that's what
on my round.
You've sort of got that down to a T now, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, there may be a couple of meals that I shouldn't have had, but yeah, the
It
rest
was
of it's quite good.
On Wednesday, I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to have a salad. Opens a bag up, hamburger in there. He can't resist. The boy can't resist. He can't help it.
But it was better than size.
Oh, that was wrong. Okay, listen to this. What was it? 9:30.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, it's actually a good challenge. Oh, we've got another challenge, but to eat everything off the saver menu. But he did the 3 double cheeseburger challenge. Have you ever done them? 3 of them. Oh, it is a dream.
I've never tried to eat 3.
Yeah, try and eat 3 of them. I mean, he made light work of it. Or do the saver menu. That's always a good one to just back your way through. He's pretty good at that as well. But it was at 9:30 after the race. All he was telling us was how hungry he was. To be fair, he had put a shift in. He did put a PB down, so we sort of we let him off really.
No, but he's got form for this. There was only Bladen the week before last. Well, after the race, obviously, we went to McDonald's afterwards to refuel. And I'm standing behind him at this machine. He kept touching the buttons and pressing different things and all sorts adding to the basket. And I said to him, what have you ordered for everyone? He went, no, that's mine.
I know, it's ridiculous. Honestly, it's not normal.
I know where everything is on the menu. So.
He's perfected.
You just see me. It doesn't take me long. Just go, that's it, done.
He's perfected his nutrition side of things. So, Tobe, go back to the original question. Have you ever trained for a half marathon?
No. Not really.
That's absolute Mickey take. It really is. Just tell us sitting there going, is he being serious?
The thing is I know that he's not. Like that's the thing. It's mad. Like the guy can smash off 3 double cheeseburgers. When you can smash off 3 triple cheeseburgers, then call me out because
I've got a debate, and maybe we should throw this out to the audience. Yeah, because we was having a debate about this in the car. I don't think the triple cheeseburger stands up to the double cheeseburger. In my view, I think the triple cheeseburger is 1 cheeseburger too many. Let us know.
It's too much meat.
There's too much going on there, and it sort of dampens down the feeling afterwards because you just feel like you've had too much. But if you go double cheeseburger, you could do what Simon did and go for the all 3 in a go. But if you went 3 triple, then you'd probably be violently sick.
You'd be struggling.
Yeah.
You
So
really would.
yeah, let us know. Do you go triple or do you go double? Personally, I'm a double guy. There's no point having the single. I don't even know why Toby tried to have that hamburger. It's just a waste of time. They should actually be taken off the menu. I'm going to start a petition.
Hamburgers are brilliant.
No,
It
they're
was
not.
alongside my
I
wrap.
think I've never ate one.
It's like
No,
a starter.
they're not. They're not. I mean, again, typical elite runners talking. you won't get this on the Runners World podcast. Or what's the one with Ben Felton? He won't get that on there. Run 3 ways.
Run 3 ways.
Elites. Yeah, heroes. Right. So, Hayden, talk to us about half marathon trade. Get away from McDonald's.
Yeah. Ultimately, firstly, you need to decide why you're training for a half marathon and what your goals are for a half marathon. Obviously, if it's one of your first ones, you've come off couch to 5K or something, everything's going to look a little bit different to someone that's sort of almost seasoned or is a marathon runner who wants to train for a half marathon. I always think, looking at the side of it of people that have already run a half marathon and you want to try and improve your time, the most important runs and the most important training definitely is your threshold training, without a doubt. It's the first race as you start to move up. So a 5K, if we're all honest about it, there's loads of sessions you can do, but we all know you just got to put your foot down and just go for it. It's a 5K. And to be honest, 10K, you drop back the pace by a couple of seconds and you're still going for it. Half marathon is the first race you get to where you've got to start thinking a little bit more about your pace, be a little bit more tactical. And I've got this thing where a lot of people are trained to a half marathon and the fastest they would train to is their half marathon pace. And that's no good. Because if you do a 12-week block training for a half marathon and the fastest speed you go up to is your half marathon pace, because you want to see what it feels like, that's almost like your limit. So when it comes to race day and you're doing that half marathon, if you're running at that pace you've trained to, you're going to find that difficult. So the idea for me is to get a little bit of headroom, train at your 5 and your 10K paces, doing the shorter runs, so that you're training at a complete different sort of level, a different pace. So that when you do drop down to this half marathon pace, it feels a bit easier. So the best way for me to incorporate that and what I try to do is I'll always run past a half marathon distance if I'm training for a half marathon, because I've done quite a few half marathons where I appreciate if it's your first one, you possibly wouldn't go to the full distance. So I'll go out and do, if I will go out and do a half marathon, like maybe 2 weeks out from the race day, I'd really mix it up, try and like start off with about 5K, nice and easy. And about the next 10, 12K, I'll either go up to my marathon pace for 2K and then try and go a little bit faster, maybe my 10K pace for another 2K, have a bit of a recovery, drop back to marathon pace for a few K and back up to your 10K pace. You're going to find it hard, but just keep thinking to yourself, you've got that easy recovery for your last 5K, that's coming. And that when you're pushing yourself in that situation, your body's working harder than it's going to need to on half marathon day. So when you start on that start line and you go for that half marathon, you're almost starting at a slower pace and you find yourself being able to control that and keep with that. Whereas which I see so many people doing, thinking, I don't know, I want a sub 2 hour half marathon, so I need a 5:40 kilometer pace. And they're training at a 5:40 pace. They might start off easy and then move up to 5:40. Don't get me wrong, that's good, that will work. But that will never give you that bit of comfortableness. It won't give you that confidence. Whereas if you put in a few extra, them faster runs and base them around your sessions, moving up to it, like you would do if you were training for a 10K, go out and do 5 by 2K. A 2K at threshold, 2K at half marathon, 2K at threshold, 2K at half marathon pace. And you're just almost like stretching your body. And then when you come back into that coil, back for the half marathon pace, you're fresh and you feel all right. So for me, it's more about, funnily enough, it's more about threshold training than it is about endurance and getting them long runs in. Whereas a marathon, you're concentrated purely on that endurance and that long base. That's the way I'll approach a half marathon plan.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, that's a good point. Some of the plans I wrote, like literally this week, I think, or was it last week? A lot of it was 10K pace on those longer runs. So it's a good reference in terms of effort, pace, guidance, is to try and throw quite a bit of your 10K pace in there. So I don't know. And again, this is not necessarily something I would recommend if you're going up to your first half, okay? I always say if you're going up to a distance for the first time, just complete the bloody thing, right? Don't try and be clever about it. Just complete the bloody thing, right? And then worry about trying to get a time or whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to run the whole thing without walking. Whatever the goal is, okay? But do that on your second one. Just finish the damn thing. But if you do go then down that road of trying to improve times or, however you feel, and or maybe, like I said, you just don't want to walk for the whole. By doing work at your 10K pace is a good reference point. So whatever you've just run a 10K at a race, use that and throw that in on those longer efforts. So whether, like Hayden just said, you go out mile warm up, and then you go, 4 or 5 miles, 10K, and then you're back down. And then, you come into some of that easy recovery pace again. It's a really good thing to do. If you could build that in, or whether you're doing a mile, mile easy, mile 10K, mile easy, mile 10K, that sort of thing, it will really make a difference actually on some of those workouts. And again, like Hayden just said, you're lifting your operating ceiling, basically. You're saying, I've got a little bit more breathing space up the top because I know that I've worked quite hard up here. And then on race day, if I'm going off, let's use you're going for a sub 2 as an example, and you've been training down at 5:30 per kilometre instead of 5:40, or instead of 9:09, you've been down at 9-minute miles. You've got a little bit of wiggle room there. Okay, so maybe start off easy in the race at your 5:40, your goal pace, and then drop it a little bit or go a little bit 5:42 and then drop it to 5:37. That's the sort of thing, because it's not going to be as daunting and as hard. So there's some really good tidbits actually pulling out from what Hayden's saying. I would say from my side of things, the one run, I love a half marathon training plan. I don't do many of them, but the one run I really recommend people do is the 10 miler. Now it's interesting because we've got where 10's coming up. It's a horrible distance, the 10 miles, because it's over that 6 miles that you would do a 10K at, where you would bust a gut, right? So I'm thinking effectively it's a tempo run. A 10K is slightly faster, right? You should be really gunning it, right? But effectively, you could say you're at that lactate threshold pace, or maybe a bit quicker. But with a 10 miler, to try and hold lactate threshold pace for 10 miles, it breaks you, okay? And then to try and get the strategy around the 10 miler is really hard as well, because if you go loopy at the start, it'll ruin you. Or if you go too easy, it'll ruin you. But if you can work in your half marathon training plan on getting a really good couple of 10 milers done, a pretty good lick. So let's say you are going with sub 2. We'll use kilometers. So 5:40 per kilometer, 9:09 punches out sub 2, right? I would look to do that 10 miler. Really, I'd be looking like 8-minute miles, 8:30, something like no slower than 8:30, but like 8-minute miles if I can get in there and hold it, maybe a pinch of ice, and really just push yourself that whole time. It will break you, I'm telling you now, because they're really hard. But give yourself a mile, warm up, mile, cool down, whatever. But really step on the gas on those 10 milers, because they're really strong in your head, because you're getting that you hit 6 miles and you're like, Jesus, I just can't hold this for another 4 miles. But you can, and you will sort of push through it if you can. Do you need the fuel? Not necessarily, but it's a good idea too, as well. But really try and dial in on that 10 miler, a real sort of high effort, because, with the long run, we call them more towards the medium effort side of things, because it's controlled and it's a steady effort over a period of time. But if you can turn that sort of 10 miler into almost a bit of a higher effort, so you're going out and you're getting after it. It's a great workout to do. It really is. And I would, like Hayden was talking about goal pace and all this sort of stuff. But if you could basically try and run your 10 mile at near as damn close you can get without like puking to your 10K pace, then that's going to be a real winner. Don't do them too close to race day, but if you, because they do that, they're absolute ball breakers, those 10 miles. But they're such a good session to do. I mean, we do it. We've got where 10's coming up, haven't we, Tope? I mean, that's a brutal course. It's got about 18,000 hills in it. Might be over exaggerating a little bit. The course, in terms of it's a bit traily, it's a bit down the river and stuff. So it's a bit gravelly now. It's not ideal. But we always try and push out an effort there, mainly because we tried to break Petra last year, which we did. We broke PB because she swore at Toby, which is brilliant. First time I've ever heard PB swear.
I'm not over it yet.
Was it Sai or me? It was Sai when Sai said, "Come on, Petra, let's push it now," something like that. We had like 4 miles, and she used words we can't use on here, which is unbelievable coming out from her mouth. But it's a really good session to do, and that was a really good race. So maybe book a 10-mile race is another good option if you're half
Great South isn't great. I think Great South's 10-mile race, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
pretty sure.
When's that in terms of timing?
That is October, week after Chicago, I think. It's about October 13th, 15th.
So when's the Chicago Marathon?
8th,
8th
7th,
of
or 8th?
October.
8th.
I wouldn't know.
No, you
8th
know.
of October, I think. But
Right.
I completely agree with that in terms of, especially, I know we've talked on that before, but when you've got that 10 miler, it's not obviously the race distance that you're going to be running, but it's also the perfect training run as well, where you can not just necessarily run and see what time you can put down, but it's the perfect way to, if you're maybe new to the fueling side of things as well, it's one of those perfect distances where you can start to practice the fueling. Because I know for me, sort of when it gets around the 6 mile, I sometimes won't have fuel when it's up to sort of 6 mile. Just if it's a 6 mile run, nice and easy, won't really think about it. But if you're going out, there's so many local, and I think the local areas do really good 10 mile runs. Super cheap, like you were saying, the one race that you did down in St Albans, £13. But if you're looking for the right place, you can really find a good cheap 10 mile race that might be up and down a river, around a local park, and then throw in some fuel in as well there, and then get the route and go out and do it again if needs be.
Yeah, honestly, a 10 mile, I think for me, is the key to a good half. I mean, you've got all the other bits, right? You've got your speed work and you've got the usual bits that we talk about, right? But like you just said, you know, it is the 10 mile is a good one to do. But you made good points about focusing on time as well. So, for example, tomorrow we're going out and we're just running for 2 hours. We don't care how far we get, right? But we're going to run for roughly 2 hours. That's all we're interested in doing. And I would say this is something also to take into consideration. Put to one side the 10 mile run now, because I think you should all try and get that in. But this running to time business is really good. Yeah, I think everyone's focusing on distance in the training plans. And just to go out and go, you know what, I'm going to run half hour out and then I'm going to turn around, I'm going to run half hour back. There's a lot to that, you know. And I'm going to run that half hour on the way back a little bit quicker than you know what I mean? I did. So maybe go out for 32 minutes out and make sure you're back within, you know, the 28 minutes to make them see what I did there, type of the maths. But make sure you're back in the right amount of time, you know. So, and then you're not focused on necessarily what your pace is, what your thing on your shoes doing, or whatever it is. You're just focusing on getting back on that time, and actually everything else will take care of itself. You're not really necessarily that focused on pace or anything like that, and getting confused with all that sort of stuff. So trying to do stuff to time based is really powerful, I think, in half marathon training.
I think more so. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you, but I think more so when you're talking about the end of people maybe going for their first half marathon, or maybe even the second half marathon. Absolutely, you should be thinking about time, even full marathon. I think training to times is definitely the way forward for your first one. I just find once people do 2, 3, or 4, then you're whether we like to say it or not, we all admit we start chasing PBs. So then you do have to start thinking, if you really want to go for that PB, you do have to start thinking about these sort of sessions.
I'm going to correct you there. I'm going to correct you there, because these Herberts go to me on I don't think you run to time. All you talk about is running to time. They love it, don't they? But actually, it's for me, right? So just to clarify this point, right? I will go and have a go. Whatever numbers punched out at the end of that is what it is. If that's what it is on the day, that's great. So I will go to look to run hard, right? Because I want to see where I'm at, or because I just fancy having a go at it, because I enjoy doing it. If that then pushes out of time, then so be it. So just to clarify that point, because you say, oh, you don't run times, but you say, but just to be absolutely crystal clear to these Herberts, I just literally, my view is, if I go, if there's a race that I fancy having a good effort at it, and it punches out of time, that's great. If it ain't what it is, then I couldn't really give one of those. Do you see what I mean? Just I want to clarify that, because somebody again pulled me up on that the other day, and I thought, you know what? You've got no clue, and you've got nothing better to do than angry type. Carry on.
What happens? Well, I'll just say as well. So, Mike Blackledger's comment saying another good one is to see how far you can run in an hour. Do this over 4 or 5 weeks, you naturally increase your pace. Yeah, but that's the point I was trying to get back to as well. So a threshold run really should be something you can maybe hold for an hour at least. So it's the same sort of thing for me. Get that hour out there at that high intensity pace, and yeah, spot on, Mike. You're definitely starting improving your time.
Yeah, I was also going to say, we've got Ian there who's also sort of agreed with us on some of those points. I've used running to time rather than distance on my last 5 marathon programs, and my race times have come down. I'm a convert to this strategy.
Interesting.
So it's for the last 5 marathon programs as well. Must be doing something right there, Ian. Well done.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a big believer in that. Don't get me wrong. I still think when you get towards necessarily the sharper end of business, let's call it, I think as any human being, you are focused because whether it's a marathon or whatever, half marathon, but you're kind of, I've got to make sure that I can run 12 miles. I've got to make sure I can run 18 miles because there's that psychological element of it. So that's why I tend to put that into a plan.
So just tell me, Chris, I'm quite intrigued with this. So you're doing a marathon plan. Let's say your own plan, you're thinking about it. So when we get into like 3 weeks out, your longest last run, traditionally, as people say, let's do a 20 to 22 miler. So if you was working to time, would you arrange that time on the basis what you know you could run a 20 to 22 miler? Or would you just go out and just run a time?
Yeah, I know roughly if I run easy, right, I know I'm going to get 20 miles done within 3.5 hours.
Right.
Okay. So that's traditionally if when I like last year's plan or last year, it is last year, isn't it? Or whenever April, I can't remember. But basically I was looking between 3 hours and 3 hours 15 for my 20-mile runs because the goal work that I was putting in them roughly. So I knew that's where I was at, but that's because I've done several training blocks and I know in terms of experience where my pace is and my effort is going to punch out in terms of my time or feet. I personally don't want to be on my feet for more than 3.5 hours, but that's because I'm ideally going to be running for no longer, let's say, than 4 hours in a marathon, right? So that's why I'm looking to do that. There is science that says, you shouldn't be going over 3.5 hours, but I totally appreciate, sorry, there's some people, they don't run those sort of times. They, they're heroes who run these 7 hours and they may be looking to do more than that. Now there's obviously science and there's a lot of stuff around, running over those periods of time is you do more harm than good, right? That's out there. But at the same time, people do still want to try and get psychologically 20 miles through their legs to say, you know what? I got that done. I'm going to be all right on race day. They're always going to, even if you did 18 miles, you're going to be all right on race day, right? So, but no, for me personally, I think that was your question, is when I'm doing my plans and I'm looking for what I'm looking to do, I know that I'm very lucky that I can basically punch that sort of distance out in that sort of time. This year will be a little bit different. I'll put longer distance through my legs, but that's because of stuff I've got coming my way. Normally I don't need to go. I don't feel I need to go over 3:15, 3:20. But if I wasn't doing what I was doing this year, would I go out and do a 22 miler this year? Probably yes, just to get 3.5 hours on my feet. But then again, I'm probably looking to run that sort of time in the marathon. So I don't really need to do that. Do you see what I mean? So it's that chicken and egg, isn't it? It's having the confidence that you know that what you're going to do is going to be enough. And that's what it comes down to. And that's why I always say the 20 miler is not going to define your marathon day. Your 12-mile run is not going to define your half marathon day. It's not. It's the period leading up to that's going to define, and your taper to a degree. But the fact that you're not overtrained, you're not overbaked, and that you're going to be on the start line in the best possible shape. If you go out and do something stupid because you think, I've got to run 23 miles because that's what I've got to do, then probably a chance are you're going to get ruined. Okay, because it's hard to recover from that. So it's a fine line, but I totally understand the psyche of an everyday runner who wants to go out and do, go and do the distance. I've heard that as well.
But I think the problem is as well, just lastly, sorry on this, is my problem is I really don't like an out and backs. Maybe it's just where I live. When you train, you do 5 runs a week, go down to the bottom of the road, turn left down this road, down that road. Once you've done that 5 times a week, after 6 or 7 months, you are sick to death of these routes.
No,
so for me, I hate out and backs. So I'm always trying to do loops. I'm trying to find somewhere. If I'm doing a 20 miler, I'm on that on the go app, trying to find a 20-mile route to come back. Whereas if I was doing it on time, it's a little bit more trickier.
I see where he's going, because I was going to hammer you there about your routes, because you should just cowboy out and get on the train like me and Tobe do.
You get the chauffeur out. I'm not surprised that he doesn't get the chauffeur.
I know why your helicopter.
Run it, and then the chauffeur
I
can
ask a sensible
pick him up at the other end.
I've got Bill and Ben coming out with these stupid answers. I'm asking a serious question.
No, right. So you're saying if you're running a looped thing, so you're doing multiple loops, yeah?
No, not so much multiple loop. Just say I'm running from here, and I think I'll go by your strategy and think I think maybe 20, 22 miles I could do in 3 hours. I'm going to go out, forget mileage. I'm going to go do a 3 hour run. How can I judge my route where I'm going to go from my house so now I can get back to my house in 3 hours without doing a straight out and back hour and a half?
Well, but you wouldn't you know the course? Wouldn't you know the route? Wouldn't you have worked that out?
But I don't know what mileage I'm doing because I'm running to time.
Yeah, but you just take a rough stab at it. You just
Right.
there's not a. We'll say to Si, right, we're looking to run 3 hours, 15 minutes. That usually punches out 18, 20 miles. Go and find us a route. So he'll get on his Garmin app because he's got absolutely nothing better to do, right? And he'll give us this route. It's usually pony, by the way, and it's got hills in it, which we've got to do, Hayden. Just heads up on that. But then we'll roughly take that into consideration, knowing that the route will be between 18 and 20 miles. Okay, we've gone a bit into marathon, but this applies to half marathon training. Okay, but what we will do, and Toby can tell you as well, when that clock ticks over, it don't matter where we are, we stop. Because I've walked back from Cheshunt, which is 3 miles from my house. I'm being serious. I've walked back from.
That's what I mean. I don't want that.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but I'm being that anal about it, right? I've walked back down the rain. I got a drink, Natch, from the coffee shop, and then I've walked home because I won't go over. That's how anal I've been. The route has finished at that point. And my run that day stopped. Wherever I am, I stop. But then I know for next time, roughly at that sort of pace, that's getting me there. And that's the way we kind of work it out. Is that, but we will make sure that we are that anal that we will stop on roughly the allotted time. We will. That's how, honestly, that's how I know. But unfortunately, for some who are listening to this, that does only come with experience, knowing your roots and coming from experience. If you're doing this for the first time, you're probably thinking, what on earth are these four Herberts talking about? I tuned in to watch admin in Vegas.
I do completely agree with some of those points that you obviously mentioned in terms of doing that. Like, I've been running to time quite recently, and I'm very much like Hayden. The thought of doing an out and back down on the river, which is normally my local long run route, it pains me. I need to be doing a loop. So I don't have any sort of official Strava, Garmin, pay for routes, all this stuff. I just go on Google before I go on my run and use the on the go map on Google. Really nice and easy. Put my point down. I've started off using, just to get my bearings, so I do sort of a 30 relaxed without my watch, and I do an hour relaxed without my watch. Because I know the routes roughly, I've been able to sort of dot different routes that I've been going around and sort of going out and tackling them routes. And even if they do fall a little bit short, at first I was getting really funny, like, oh, that's not going to take me to 4 miles. But then what I started to do was change it so I would actually end on the high street, pick up a coffee, and then walk home. Now, I mean, that's normally my plan for sort of a weekend thing. Normally, if I'm running at lunch, I need to do a route that I know, because I know that I need to be back within the hour, so I'll stick to that. But spicing it up towards the end of the week, when you know you've got the time to maybe finish, grab a coffee, grab something that you need in the street, take a nice mile walk back to your house or something like that. That's also really helped. And I sort of get excited to finish bang on them 30 minutes because I know that I'm going to be finishing somewhere where I plan to go and grab a coffee. Like, try and think of things that you might want to end it on. Like, for Toby, it might be a nice bucket, a KFC bucket or something. Like, bang on 30, outside KFC, bosh, done.
It's the best way to go, unless you've got a side route, in which case you're guaranteed that it'd be short.
Yeah.
And then you'll just be running loops around the car park.
He does do that a lot. He promised us this amazing route, and we were running up and down the river because we still had time to do. I'm being a bit harsh on him. If you can't afford Strava or you can't afford the Google Maps, I'll give you Simon's email address. It's idiot@google.com, and just email him and he'll do the route for you.
Or you can, if you want, you could just, I found it quite interesting to go on to Toby Frost Strava and follow him. And then there's loads of routes he's done. You just pick up on some of them. He does some good routes on his Strava.
I would thoroughly recommend following Toby Frost on Strava, and also commenting on all his runs, because he loves that, doesn't he, Hayden?
Please comment how many cheeseburgers you could eat with him.
No, that's Simon. Do you make sure you follow Simon Neal as well? He loves that as well. Make sure you comment on and just put picture emojis of hamburgers, cheeseburgers on his Strava comments. He would like that very much as well. If you could all do that, that'd be brilliant. I think, Jacinda, you better wrap it up because we're getting ourselves into trouble here.
I can't actually believe we've hit an hour already, guys. I just want to get last few things that have come in there from Penny. She said really useful tips. She's thinking about doing Leamington Half on Sunday and looking forward to Chester or York Marathon in October. So good luck there, Penny. Let us know how you get on. And also a hello from Florida. So sorry it's late.
Is that Hayden? Is that one of your relatives?
Oh. Who knows? But no, I will wrap up there, guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's been a great evening, and I can't believe we've reached the hour mark. But enjoy whatever you're up to this weekend. What are you guys up to? Briefly, quickly, before we shoot.
As I say, we're running for 2 hours tomorrow. I've got to give a shout out. Next week's a pre-record because I'm basically out. And Tobe's out, so it's a pre-record next week. Just a heads up. But we're running for 2 hours tomorrow, and that's it really.
I'm meeting up with a load of the Surrey lot, FORDY Runs lot at Non-Such Park Run, and then Sunday I'm thinking about jumping on a plane to go to the other side of the world.
Must be nice, lovely. Toby?
Mate, I was just trying to look where the outro video is. I can't remember. I'm running probably about 2 hours tomorrow, and then gonna eat some food. Basically, I think so.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably about it. Nothing too exciting.
Oh, well, guys, that wraps it up. Thank you for listening this evening, and have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Oh, is that Bill or Ben who done that?
No, that's not the outro video. I thought that was the outro. Oh, here it is.